Have you ever been called into your shadows? I can tell you that that is obviously the worst part of going through a spiritual awakening. So when you first go through a spiritual awakening, at least for me, I went through a spontaneous Kundalini awakening a little over 4 years ago. And when this first happens, everything, it's like a rush of just light energy, and you see yourself on the other side as a god or a goddess, and everything's beautiful and wonderful, and you understand everything from this higher perspective, and energy just kind of flows beautifully, like you're walking on a cloud. It's 10 out of 10, like it's heaven on earth. Like it truly is. That feeling is heaven on earth. And then God brings you back down, and he's like, great, I'm glad that you got a glimpse of like what you could be. Let me show you where you are. And when you're in the dark, you can't see your shadows, obviously. You step out into the light and you look back and you're like, oh, I had all that in my closet. Like, those are my shadows. You got to face those shadows in order to transcend into that glimpse that you got in the beginning. And that process is difficult. So Carl Jung described this process as individuation, right? There's 4 stages. And I want to talk about how that correlates to our nervous system work, as well as, just tying it in with spirituality. If you breakdown, we all have masculine and feminine energies inside of us. Some of us are lucky enough to also have those energies external of us, but that's another story. For the purpose of this video, I'm talking about the self. We all have masculine and feminine energies inside of us, and it's not necessarily a 50-50. It really kind of depends on your natal chart, right? So, but we all have both these energies playing inside of us. How they show up in our lives is going to be very different depending on where we are, on our healing journey, as well as obviously our natal chart. So when you're growing up as a kid, up until the age of 7, you're really forming your identity, and all of the stories that are happening in your external world really shape who you think you are inside. So how we feel about ourselves, how we feel about money, how we feel about relationships, love, the world, all of that is shaped by the time we're 7. So if you didn't have ideal experiences, or you're here to learn certain lessons, then you are going to be operating from a wounded or a distorted masculine and or feminine energy. So how this will show up, first, healthy masculine energy, and again, this isn't gender specific, we each have both. So if you're looking at yourself, what healthy energies do you have? On the masculine side, for healthy, we are looking for boundaries, safety, respect, integrity, aligned action taker. Are you able to operate from a healthy self-esteem? On the feminine side, how that healthy energy kind of shows up in, again, each of us, is being receptive, being able to go with kind of the flow of life, trusting your intuition, be nurturing, be caring, be sweet. And I have said this so many times, but masculine nature, like a healthy masculine, a healthy little boy, a healthy adult man, will embody both of these, as well as the feminine. And often how that physically will represent can sometimes be flipped from what we expect. Men by nature have to be intuitive. They have to be able to sense their surroundings in order to really be in that healthy masculine energy, right? And women by nature are feisty and protective. So sometimes we get the ideas of how that shows up in a healthy way in both genders a little bit distorted, but anyways, that's how it's going to show up in your own individual life. Like, if you have healthy masculine energy, can you set boundaries? Are you an aligned action taker? All of those things I just listed, right? And then the feminine as well. Now, there are two other subcategories, wounded or distorted. And most people are operating from wounded and distorted masculine and or feminine energies and can flip-flop back and forth. So how wounded shows up in the masculine is somebody who's fearful, avoidant. They feel overly responsible and they will people please. So a wounded masculine energy is going to be somebody who doesn't feel good about themselves, and the only way that they really get self-worth is from what they do for others. And that for the wounded feminine, it's similar. But a wounded feminine it will really show up, like it'll be obvious, the low self-worth. Where the wounded masculine, it might not always be obvious. But for the wounded feminine energy, it's very obvious. Like it comes down to this like low self-worth, a lot of self-abandonment and inability to receive. And an inability to receive is anything, love, money, gifts, etc. Compliments, so that's kind of how that shows up on the wounded side. Now, the distorted side is slightly more aggressive for both. For a distorted feminine energy, it's going to show up as passive aggressive, little snide comments, gossipy, chaotic. When I think of distorted energy, I think of an overinflated ego. And when I think of wounded energy, I think of like an underinflated ego, if that makes sense. So distorted masculine energy will show up as manipulative. They're power hungry. They lack integrity. Narcissism can show up in both masculine and feminine energies, in both wounded and distorted. Wounded would be more of that overt, a lot of victim, making sure that they're the victim, acting sweet out in public, but at home they're just awful. So that's kind of that wounded narcissism and how that shows up. The distorted is much more of like the overt narcissism. And again, it's not always narcissism, but that distorted energy on the narcissistic scale, like that's how it would show up, is overt. So it's somebody with an overinflated ego. Again, they lack integrity, they lack accountability, they're manipulative, they're sneaky. These are just going to be your guys and gals that think they're just hot shots, but on the inside, they just don't have a lot going for them. So Carl Jung was a psychologist, and he talked about the masculine energy is the animus and the feminine energy is the anima. And really the whole point of life is to balance out the two energies internally so you can get to this healthy masculine feminine energy, which is ultimately like your true soul. So you're getting rid of fear, you're getting rid of shame, you're getting rid of all of resentment and the stories that you identified with that weren't true about yourself. So that's facing your shadows. It's like, how can I face this wounded and distorted energy so I can get to this healthy individuation of self? And it is difficult. Like when you are called to face your shadows, you have two choices of being like, nope, I am going to look away. I'm willing to walk away from the light, but I am not stepping into the shadows. Like I am just going to continue to walk blind. And I think some people have that choice to like just continue to walk blind. And I think some people don't. And so the more that you resist looking at your shadows and facing all of the reasons why you make the decisions that you do, and you're in whatever situation you're in, you've got to look at those shadows, right? And so it's difficult. So your birth chart, when you're looking at your birth chart, it really is your natal map of how you handle and process life. Your sun sign is your ego. So depending on what your sun sign is, there's a shadow side and a light side. And so how you show up in an egoic way, you can see by looking at your sun sign. What your emotional nature is, that will show up in your moon sign. Your rising sign is like really kind of what you show the world. And, you know, Mercury, mind, Mars, action, drive, ego, Pluto's how you transform. Like all of that is written in your chart. Like it's very specific and individual to you. And I think that a lot of time people get lost because they listen to advice from somebody that maybe is operating from a distorted ego, and you're operating from wounded, and you're trying to get to this healthy. Well, if you listen to distorted, you're not. And what you need to do to heal, it's not going to be the same. That happened with my sister and I. Like I would have to say, our healing journeys are opposite, and that is okay. Like our healing journeys are opposite. So what you need to do and love and accept is literally the opposite of what I need to do. So it is important to like know thyself and know in which energy you're operating from, and it can flip-flop at times, but individuation is really healing both that masculine and feminine inside you. And if you want a better life, if you want to call in a loving partner, if you want more money, if you want that glimpse of that life you had in the beginning, that love and light bubble, you have to be able to look at the shadows and heal these things. And, you know, again, that resistance and that fear is so real. And there is a time you're going to be in the void. And that's the most challenging part. It's like you feel like you've done all the work to address these shadow sides. Like you feel like you've done it, and you're still just in this limbo phase of like, I know what I'm supposed to do, but I'm not there yet. And accepting that, it takes time, and it's frustrating. And sometimes it does take something that hits you at your knees to be like, it's go time. Like you don't have any other excuses. And walk into the fear, even when it's super uncomfortable. Like walk into knowing that if you're called, and again, I promise you, if you're called, I love you, but you don't have a choice. Like you will have to go through this psychological experiment with yourself of healing this wounded and distorted both masculine and feminine energy inside you so you can get to that healthy place. And if you have kids, I think that this is your priority of healing your own energetic imprint so you become this healthy, energetic being. And we are meant to, and we cast out signals, right? Like we cast out these large, energetic, magnetizing signals from our body, and that energy is based off of what's happening inside of us. When you're operating from healthy energy, that your auric field just gets huge, and you call in the experiences from the quantum field that you are meant to receive, that are destined for you. But when you stay small and you shrink yourself, you stay in fear, you stay in shame, guilt, embarrassment, all of that, it's like you're just shrinking that auric field, and it's like you're walking through a cornfield and nothing can find you because you are just hiding. And sometimes, again, that hiding is necessary, but you, at a certain point, like you'll know it's go time. Like I have to make a change in my life for my kids, for my partner, but most importantly, like for myself. And, you know, because God's telling you to do it. Like, it's just go time. You got to move. So all of how you display these energies, again, both masculine and feminine, are showing up in your birth chart. So you can look at your birth chart, you can get a natal chart reading, and you will be able to see, okay, if this is the shadow side of, let's just say a Gemini Mercury. Gemini is definitely going to be overthinking and just wheels turning. So a Gemini Mercury is definitely, that's going to be on overdrive. The higher octave of Gemini is curiosity and being able to somewhat go with the flow and being able to see duality, right? So like we're in Gemini season, like we're getting ready to transition into Cancer season soon. Our summer solstice is this weekend. Like that's gonna just have good vibes in general. But the higher octave of Mercury in Gemini is curiosity and asking questions and listening and just having good conversation, right? So you can kind of see where you're operating. And I think it's telling. I think if you're self-aware, you know, but individuation is about unbearing our subconscious beliefs and making them conscious, becoming aware of them, bringing kind of all of that junk that we've stored in our energetic body from lifetimes, you're bringing all of that to the front, and it's not pretty. Again, like it's a really uncomfortable experience, but trusting that if you were called to walk through these hard times, you were called to these difficult circumstances, you were called to look these shadows in their face and be like, I'm going to heal you, and what I can't heal, I'm going to accept as a little bit of who I am. I think when we stop identifying with the wound of rejection, humiliation, betrayal, what have you, you can see, okay, that sharpened me, but also now view yourself in a different way. Okay, I'm resilient. Like I know in the depths of my soul that no matter what life throws my way, I can get through it. I'm resourceful, I'm resilient. I am all of these things that I never saw about myself before, right? Like I can say that about myself, and I want people to be able to say that about themselves too. Like we can face our shadows individually and then face them collectively as well. This is important work. Like this is what our souls are here to do. Our souls are not here just to plug in to the grid system and work, and that's not just it. We are here to have this soul level expansion, and it's messy, and we're humans. So we're gonna mess up, we're gonna make mistakes. How can we stop identifying with the shame of those mistakes? How can we forgive ourselves? I said yesterday, if you can love your narcissistic ex or father or mother, whoever, as much as you did and probably still do, you can learn to love yourself and all of your own funkiness and all of your own messiness. And that is the whole point, is to get to a place of, none of us are better than anybody else. We all are operating at different energies and different frequencies and what have you, but not one is better than the other. Some are more evolved, yes, but some are also here to play roles in our lives. And I think, part again of the healing journey is when you first awaken, it is so very clear to see, like, I honor, the trouble that you caused in my life because it made me who I am. Like, thank you. I appreciate this relationship. Like, you can really walk away in this beautiful way. And then along your healing journey, you kind of go like, fuck you. Like, how could you have treated me like that? Like, so it's a little bit of a roller coaster. And I think accepting that on your healing journey, it is going to be a roller coaster, but you're worth it, and you owe it to yourself to kind of step in and face the resistance. There are some things that I will not heal about myself in this lifetime, and I've accepted that. My fear of heights, I'm not healing that. I don't want to heal that. Like, that's just not something I have any desire to truly do in this life. And I feel like just because I said that out loud, God would probably be like, okay, I'll throw you out of the plane. Like, let's see how you do. Cool. But that's just not something that like I can accept. That's not a fear that I'm gonna probably get over. So that's okay. But my fear of abandonment, or my fear of rejection, or my fear of not being good enough and not being worthy, like I can heal all of those things. You can heal all of those things. And again, messy. You'll have to cut people off. Like, and you again can do it in a healthy, respectful way. Like that's kind of the whole point. It doesn't always have to be a war. Sometimes it is though, and that's okay too. Like feel your feels, get your emotions out. Part of what that masculine energy does for ourselves, whether it's wounded, distorted, or healthy, it protects us. So when we are operating from a wounded or distorted masculine energy, like we might have a ton of rage and, wrath, just the wrath will be upon us. We turn into dragons. Hello, Mars and Scorpio. Like I definitely know where to hit. Like I definitely have the ability to like cut you at your knees. You know what I mean? And that's a shadow side of Mars and Scorpio. Like that's not the best trait. And I operated from that for a long time. So well aware that I did that. Definitely have dealt with that shadow. For some of it, I'm sorry. For some of it, I'm not, if I'm honest, because that energy was coming out of me because I felt like I had to defend myself. And not saying that it's okay, like I didn't have to act like an asshole, but the other people were not necessarily operating in their healthy energy either, so it just kind of was what it was. I forgive them, I forgive myself, but like there's just honesty in that of, yeah, I operated from ways that I'm not proud of, and so did they. I think the key to having, continuing a relationship with somebody is, can they accept that, yes, I as well operated from an unhealthy energy. I am sorry for that, and I have changed, grown, and I will do better. Where the disconnect is going to happen in relationships is obviously when one person can be like, yep, I was part of the problem. I definitely contributed to these disagreements, these arguments, or how they played out. Sorry. But also that person needs to receive, from the second party, a similar response. When both people can't take accountability, there's going to be a shift in the divide, and ultimately the energetics are not a match anymore, and you will have to separate. So, I know society, family, and longtime friends, and like you have all of this pressure to maintain these relationships, but we are here to grow, and you're going to outgrow people that you thought would be in your life forever. And yes, that's sad at times, but it's also the path that you chose, and it's what needed to happen. At one point, can people come back together as family, as friends, what have you? Each situation is different. I think some relationships are destined to come back together, but I also think some relationships had a specific lesson tied to them, and once one party learned that lesson and they no longer consent to the relationship in any form or fashion, then it's just done. And I will say some of us have cursed ourselves because we played Erykah's Badu like Next Lifetime way too many times thinking about particular people. And I just want to go on public record and say I do not consent to my unhealed self playing that in my car, thinking about particular people when I had absolutely no business in cursing myself in such a way. So public record, I do not consent to that curse, and I shall have no next lifetimes with anybody that has ever done me dirty. So publicly, I am saying that. When you get to your healthy self and you can joke and you can have fun and you can learn to be in this masculine, feminine, energetic dance again with the universe, your life will start aligning in a way that does feel miraculous. And then you might get hit again. And that will wreck you. Like, it just will be like, what? Like, how am I still, getting chopped at the knees when I thought that I did all I needed to do? Well, unfortunately for all of us, I think that there's always more work to do. And depending, again, on your resistance and your particular calling, like, sometimes it's just difficult. And all we can do is continue to have faith and obedience. And I do not believe in a God who punishes, but I do believe in a God who gets tired of our shit. And I'm sorry, but I do. And I think, again, some of us have written contracts to do certain things. And if you're one of those people, okay, beloved, And the more that you resist that calling, like, your life will start falling apart, because you have to get to the point of being so uncomfortable that you have no choice but to listen. And that is like complete surrender, right? Like, I won't say that I am a control freak, but I will say that I have Virgo in the 4th house on my IC. So if you're an astrology babe or know what that means, it says a lot. Like, perfectionism, showing, home life, even for me, felt very like, you have to be perfect. What I loved to do as a kid was decorate and organize my room. Like, that was a coping skill for me. So again, like me vacuuming my carpet the other day to avoid the work that I really need to do is very written in my chart, very astrological. So I'm pointing out these things about myself to show you how it's connected, to show you how you can tap into your own chart to be like, all right, well, how am I avoiding? Like, what's a clear sign for me? What's my pattern of behavior that I am avoiding the work? Or what's my pattern of behavior? Am I showing up wounded, distorted, or healthy? Am I fluctuating? Can I hold that healthy energy long enough to believe it to be true about myself? Because ultimately, that is the journey back to self, is what do you believe about yourself? Other people's opinions and thoughts about me are truly none of my business. And I think when you have these abandonment and rejection wounds from childhood or past lives, it's hard to step into that healthy energy of, am I going to be, I am accepted. And whether it's by others or just by myself and God, like, I know that I'm accepted. And I don't seek validation in any form. And I can tell you that for long periods of my life, I did. And it showed up in ways of me putting up with crap from friends and people that I definitely didn't deserve, or me overperforming for my family at functions, doing the dishes, or like showing up in any helpful way. Because if I wasn't helpful, I wasn't needed or loved. And that was reflected in my childhood. You know what I mean? So like, that is something I am still overcoming. I was at a girlfriend's house. Me and 4 other girls snuck out of another friend's party to go see my girlfriend's new couch. And like women do, we sat and started chatting for a bit. So like, all of the dads in the neighborhood were left with the kids, and like, we were all just hanging out. And one of the husband came home, one of the dads came home, and as soon as he came in, I was like, we were cleaning. Like, I had to justify our reason for zenning out for a sec. And me and my girlfriends all kind of laughed because it's like, what was that? Like, why was my immediate response. I had to justify our sneaking out of a party for a few minutes. So it's like little things like that we can kind of see our own patterns, see how they're still showing up. We feel like we're healed. We feel like we've made progress, and we're always making progress. God will assure us of that. Again, he's moving the planets to make sure that that happens. It's just a process. So all of this to say, I want each of you to look at where you're operating from your animus or your anima, your masculine and feminine energy. Are you showing up wounded? Are you showing up distorted? Are you showing up healthy? How is that correlating to each one of your planets? And astrology is a whole world wide web of its own. You can look at it in 1,000 gazillion million trillion ways. But if you stick to the basics a little bit, it can help weave the path of you just getting kind of like a baseline. Then of course you just go deeper and deeper. It's so fun to get in the deep, dark caves of our own soul. Like, it's so fun. But if you're called here to do it, you're called here to do it. And again, I hate to break it to you. You're just going to have to go through it. And true heaven is on the other side. And I wholeheartedly believe humans were placed here on earth to do the soul work, have these beautiful and messy human experiences, so our soul could evolve and grow and get rid of these limiting beliefs, help establish heaven on earth within ourselves first, and then that ripples out into our communities, our families, friendship circles, etc. Like, in my soul, I know that that's what we're here to do. Sure, you might be here to do that as a banker, but that doesn't mean you're not here to still do that work on your own, learning to love yourself in a healthy way, not in a distorted way, and just kind of letting your soul grow, right? So you can look at your relationships, your relationship with money, your relationship with yourself, obviously, family, friends. Look at your external world, look at the people around you, and that can also help kind of show you where you're still operating. We are not solely in control of the universe, even though at times I think spirituality will make us feel like we are. I think we are in control of our own perception. Therefore, ultimately, it will shape our reality, but it is a dance with the universe. And the only thing that we really can do is work on ourselves. So, all of this to say, you want to tie it back to astrology. Chiron is going to be moving into Taurus on the 19th. We have the summer solstice. We have other stuff going on too. I don't have my charts right in front of me. So this weekend is another transition. Chiron is the planet of wounded healer. So where you have Chiron in your chart will also show you like where you have deep wounds. The sign and the house are both important for my Chiron and Taurus people. It's me. Okay. I'm Chiron and Taurus. There's a lot of us, right? If you have Chiron and Taurus, this really is tied to your self-worth and money. Chiron and Aries is about that individualness, is your wounds of truly being an individual and how you show up in this life. So that's what we've been kind of working on since 2018, right? So we're now in this final push of, have you healed that individual wound yet? Can you trust yourself? Can you step into the vision of who you are, right? That's Chiron and Aries. You're healing that part of you. And if you're not done, that's okay, right? Chiron's going to move into Taurus on the 19th. This is self-worth and abundance. How can you receive? How worthy do you feel of like unexpected miracles or just hard work? How worthy of good food, luxury, like beauty, sensuality, like Taurus is also a very sensual, sexual, energetic feel. It's the bull, right? Like, all of that. Like, how do you feel worthy of all of the good sensual experiences in life, including money? We're going to start looking at that again, and even more so. Chiron will retrograde back into Aries. So that is when we'll have that literally final push of, did you clear out these blocks yet? And it's a yes or a no. There's no judgment whether you did or you didn't, but your next level is dependent on what you clear out, what you're willing to face. So when you're calling in these big manifestations, when you're calling in this dream life, this love, this money, all of that, it is in direct correlation with what shadows in yourself are you willing to face. So I'm encouraging you and letting you know that if you're going through this, you're normal. Collectively, like, this is what we're going through. Clearing out those wounds around self to then be able to see where we are in terms of worthiness and abundance, and then do work there if necessary as well. I do think, again, with Pluto in Aquarius and our North Node going into Aquarius here soon, it's really going to be about a collective level of healing. And there are some people on this planet that are here to do collective grid work and move to certain places and heal energy in those certain places, or heal energy within family systems. So again, my little chosen ones, like, we are all chosen to go through certain hurdles and clear up certain junk within our systems, family, work, energetic, grid, what have you. So again, just putting these messages out there so people can kind of start thinking about things slightly differently, maybe viewing their own personal journey differently. Mostly if, like, I can put myself out there and just yappity yap on here comfortably, I want other people to feel like they can share their own information, their own experiences, their own wisdom, because again, like, for all little atoms of God, it's worth knowing and sharing and healing collectively together. So certainly, as always, I am Marjorie. I'll probably have to do an introduction video because I don't really know if I ever did one of those. I'm Marjorie. I am Unexpected Empress. If you would like a chat session, astrology reading, whether it's birth chart, transit, or both, or just an integrative energy session, or maybe even a combo of all three, hit me up on unexpectedempress.com and we'll set something up. I hope that you have a great rest of your day and transform what you can and accept what you can't. Bye.